Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Haribo, 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 Haribo. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Paribrajakachaja Ashtottara Satashishi Mad, His Divine Grace. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Jai.
Jai Nitya Pravishta Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Paribrajakachaja Ashtottara Satashishi Mad, His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Jai.
Nantako Vaishnava Ki Jai.
Jai.
Mama Acharya Haridas Thakur Ki Jai.
Jai.
Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasati Go Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai.
Jai.
Shri Shri Radha Krishna Go Gopinath Shamakund Radhakund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai.
Jai.
Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai.
Jai.
Avadi Dham Ki Jai.
Jai.
Mayapur Dham Ki Jai.
Jai.
Shantipur Dham Ki Jai.
Jai.
Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai.
Jai.
Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Maharani Ki Jai.
Jai.
Shri Gauni Thai Ki Jai.
Jai.
Shri Radha Sarat Bihari Ki Jai. Shri Radha Madan Mohan Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Yamuna Mai Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Samveda Bhakti Vrinda Ki Jai. Hari Nam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Sankirtan Jagna Ki Jai. Transcendental Book Distribution Ki Jai. The blessed appearance day of Sri Advaita Acharya Ki Jai.
Jai.
Go Premanandi.
Hari Hari Bol.
All glories to the symbol of devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the symbol of devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the symbol of devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to Sri Guru Sri Garanga.
Jai Shri Guru.
Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Sri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda,
Jaya
Jaya
Chandra,
Chandra,
Jaya
Jaya Gaur Bhakta
Vrinda.
Vrinda.
So today being the auspicious day of the appearance of Sri Advaita Acharya, we will be discussing some aspects of Advaita Acharya from the perspective of his glories and his causing the appearance of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by his humble, sincere prayers, which is very, very important for us to understand the power of sincere, honest, heartfelt prayers. So in trying to appreciate Advaita Acharya, I was looking for one verse that I had read yesterday from Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, and he was apologizing for even speaking about these glories, stating his own disqualification to speak about these glories. So I want to take that mood that I am not at all qualified to speak about Advaita Acharya. And as we read about his glories, we'll understand the Vaishnava's hesitancy to speak about such a great personality, understanding who he is. I remember once in Mayapur, we went to Shantipur for the Shantipur festival. And Jayapataka Maharaj introduced us to the last descendant of Advaita Acharya. And he was sitting there with Jayapataka Maharaj. And in my heart, I was feeling some, just some emotion came over me thinking this person was connected to Advaita Acharya. So Advaita Acharya is a real person, not like us. We're Jiva souls. We're insignificant. Advaita Acharya is not like that. We can't relegate him to just being a historical personality, which in one sense he is. If you study the Vaishnava histories from the scholarly platform, you'll find that Advaita Acharya, Lord Chaitanya, Nityananda, all these personalities are mentioned when people are doing research on the Vaishnava histories. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is identified as a great Bengali saint. And of course, Panchatattva, beautiful Panchatattva there in Philadelphia. All those personalities are known in the scholarly circles and also in the devotional circles. But what is not known or clearly understood is the significance of their individual positions, and especially Advaita Acharya. He's much older than Lord Chaitanya. He appeared before Lord Chaitanya, and he's much older. And Lord Chaitanya always saw him as equal to his own spiritual master. But Advaita Acharya was thinking, no, I'm a servant of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I'm a servant of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I'm a servant of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He took that very humble position. But from what position did he take that position? It's like we're sometimes hesitant to take the humble position. We've heard that phrase so many times. Take the humble position. Why should we take the humble position? Because Lord Chaitanya instructed us that if we want to chant the holy name with some sincerity, which is required in order to achieve love of God, we should chant in a certain state of mind. And we all know, Lord Chaitanya says in his third sloka of the Shikshastika, Tanadapi Sinichena, Tarorapi Ahisnana, Amani Namani Dena, Kirtaniya Sadadare. So if we ever hope, and we should hope against hope, because it's almost like hopeless for us to become purified. It's almost like hopeless because we're so attached in this material world to so many things. But if we ever hope to come to that stage that we're reading about, that we're hearing about, and we'll hear about it from Advaita Acharya today, then we have to take that humble position, following in the footsteps of great personalities like Advaita Acharya. So when you understand a little more about how great such personalities are, and then how they took this humble position, even in the Western histories, like in the history of Lord Jesus Christ, the level of humility that he demonstrated was one of the main factors that attracted people to him. Actually, I say it all the time, Jesus Christ never had a church. Sometimes Christians and religious people are so addicted to big buildings. Christ never had a church. He was just walking. And when he came to the big city, he came on a donkey, very humble. And we know in the life of Haridas Thakur, so humble. You're a Muslim, you cannot come into the temple. I know when I went to Jagannath Puri in 1982, 81 or 82, and we were chanting in front of the Sringadora gate, yes. And we could not go inside. But we knew that Prabhupada said, don't even worry about going inside. Look, Jagannath has come out from that temple. He's come out so that all the devotees can see him in the West. But I was thinking of Haridas Thakur, Nama Acharya, the Acharya of chanting Hare Krishna. And when he was not allowed to go in the temple, he did not protest. Oh, I am Nama Acharya. I'm very close to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Why you not allow me to come inside? He took a very humble position. So if you go through all the histories of all the great acharyas, of course, Srila Prabhupada, the level of humility that he demonstrated, coming from such a high level of spiritual, academic, scholarly, whatever you want to call it, his level of realization was unsurpassed. But his level of humility was also unsurpassed. We all know the pastime, how Prabhupada would have to stand in line to go to the bathroom in the beginning because devotees had no idea what it meant to be guru, acharya. And Prabhupada was so humble. And he would cook for devotees. He cooked the feast, he served the feast, he cleaned up after the feast because devotees didn't know who he was. So we don't want to make that mistake with Advaita Acharya, that we speak casually about him. Advaita Acharya this, Advaita Acharya that, Advaita Acharya this, Advaita Acharya that. No casual discussion here today. We want to understand from the perspective of who he really is. So in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, there are many, many statements. I'll just share a few and we'll discuss a little bit. From the Adi Leela, chapter 3, text 92. Acharya Goswami Prabhu Bhakta Avatar, Krishna Avatara Hetu Yanhara Hunkar. Advaita Acharya Goswami is an incarnation of the Lord as a devotee. His loud calling was the cause for Krishna's incarnation. So we're going to discuss that a little bit more in a minute, about his crying out, his sincere prayers that brought Krishna to this world. Now, someone may argue, and it's a logical argument, well, Krishna would have come anyway. Lord Chaitanya would have come anyway. He says, he will come anyway to annihilate the miscreants and protect the devotees. But I am not going to be so bold as to say that. And I hope none of us here would even think that. Because Advaita Acharya's prayers, as it says here, his loud calling was the cause of Krishna's incarnation. So we know Lord Chaitanya, his wonderful appearance day, blessed appearance day is coming very soon. That he has a hidden reason for coming. And he has this reason for coming, to spread the Sankirtan movement. But also he wanted to taste the ecstasy, the nectar of devotion himself, the service mood of Srimati Radharani. He wanted to taste that nectar. But that's an internal reason. But another reason is he wanted to spread the Sankirtan movement, but also to spread the Sankirtan movement and to relish the nectar of spreading the Sankirtan movement. So that's where the, the nectar really is. And that's mentioned in his first Shikshastika. All glories to Shri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated. And at the end it says, what is the last part? Who knows the last line? I can't think of it right now. Last line of the Shikshastika first prayer. Who knows?
Param Vijayate Shri
Krishna Sankirtan. Yeah, Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtan. Because it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we're always hankering. Srila Prabhupada is describing in so many places how we're running after sense gratification. And we want to be happy, but we don't know what is happiness. We've confused it. We think happiness means acquiring material things, money, machines, intelligence, whatever it might be. But the real happiness is in glorifying the Lord. I was just listening to Srila Prabhupada's lecture this morning. He was talking about reading the Srimad Bhagavatam regularly to achieve that state of bliss or happiness or freedom from material attachments. Regularly, he said, not this Bhagavat Saptaha. No, not Bhagavat Saptaha. Where did this come from? It's not approved by any Acharya. 7 days you sit down and read the Bhagavatam and then your business is finished. No, Nityam Bhagavata Seva. Constantly hearing. So when we constantly hear, the possibility is there that our hearts will be cleansed enough that we can relish what we're hearing. And that will be sufficient for our life, for our enjoyment. Srila Prabhupada, when he came to the West in 1965, it was a very arduous, difficult journey for him. We all know, 2 heart attacks, just being on that boat. It was not like an ocean liner. It's a freight ship or whatever. So he said, I'm getting solace by reading Chaitanya Charitamrita. Can you imagine that? All the suffering that he was faced with and his solace, his happiness was reading Chaitanya Charitamrita. I pray for that for all of us. that as we go through this process, that we'll come to the stage to where we are just relishing hearing the Bhagavatam, hearing Chaitanya Charitamrita, hearing Srila Prabhupada's books, reading the books of the Acharyas approved by Srila Prabhupada. And that becomes the basis of our happiness. It doesn't mean that we don't do anything else in the material world, but that is the basis of our happiness. So Advaita Acharya, he's calling out loudly, sincerely. And if you pray to the Lord, it must be from a sincere platform to have the effect that we may want. So what we'll understand from Advaita Acharya, why was he crying out like that? What was the motivation for him to cry to the Lord or to pray to the Lord like that? We'll come to that in a second. So let's look a little bit more at the glories of Advaita Acharya. Mahavishnu Jagat Karta Mayaya Srijat Yada Tasyavatara Evayam Advaita Acharya excuse me, Ishvara. Lord Advaita Acharya is the incarnation of Mahavishnu, whose main function is to create the cosmic world through the actions of Maya. So take a second and think about that. Think about who Mahavishnu is. All the universes are emanating from him, like little droplets of perspiration coming through our skin. And each universe is so huge, like our universe is 4 billion miles in diameter, as described by Srila Prabhupada and by the Vedic literatures. And there are universes bigger than that. In this universe, Brahma, he has 4 heads. In some universes, he has hundreds of heads, thousands of heads, millions of heads. And we all know the pastime, how Brahma came to see the Lord, and he announced himself, Brahma, I've come to see the Lord. And then the Lord says, ask him which Brahma. Which Brahma? I thought I'm the only Brahma. And then the Lord called all the different Brahmas to come, thousands of heads, millions of heads, and they all bowed down, and the sound was universal shattering, incredible. So this Mahavishnu, all the universes are coming from him. Advaita Acharya is the incarnation of that Mahavishnu. So let's fix that in our mind as we're talking about Advaita Acharya, the incarnation of Mahavishnu. We have to understand Mahavishnu, and then we understand a little more about Advaita Acharya, how great he is, and how we should humble ourselves before these narrations of his glories. Humble ourselves, not think that we can control it. We don't control this knowledge. It's not ours. No matter how much we so-called master this philosophy, whatever that's supposed to mean. How do you master this philosophy? You don't. You humbly serve this philosophy. You humbly share this philosophy. Why? Because whatever we're able to think, it is coming from Krishna. If we ever forget that, we're in big trouble. The Dami Buddhi Yogantam. I give the understanding. I give the knowledge. I reveal the knowledge. The spiritual master reveals the knowledge. Om Magyanati Miranda Sajjanantanan Salakaya. These things are transcendental, but we get distracted by the material complexities of life, and we forget the transcendental, essential aspects of life. There is no life without the transcendental. This body is not life. This body is temporary. As Srila Prabhupada said this morning in the lecture, the soul is being covered by this material body. We have a spiritual body, but it's covered by this gross material body. And then under the influence of the modes of material nature, we get very confused. We get so confused. We think ourselves to be this body. Prakriti kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvasaha ahankar vimuratma kartahamiti manyate. We get confused. I'm a black man. I'm a white man. I'm a woman. Gujarati, Bengali, African, French, whatever it is. It's just an illusion. So we become covered by that. So we should always remember that we are the eternal parts and parcels of the Lord, And our business is to serve. Advaita Acharya says that I'm the servant of Lord Chaitanya. I'm the servant of Lord Chaitanya. I'm the servant of Lord Chaitanya. And we should, in our minds and our hearts every day, realize that is our real business, is to serve. When we get a chance to serve each other, it's helping prepare us for the right attitude for service to the Lord. It's like we bow down and offer obeisances. And we offer obeisances to each other. So we can practice humility. It's going to be required in order to come closer to Krishna. Otherwise, you'll be kept away from Krishna. If we don't have humility, we cannot come close to Krishna. It's very difficult. Proud attitude or, whatever, trying to come close to Krishna is very difficult. That's why the great devotees always humble themselves. So thinking of Advaita Acharya, who he is, incarnation of Mahavishnu, why should we not be humble to his glories? As Krishnadas Kaviraj he's encouraging us to be. It's like if some great personality, president of a country, prime minister, king, if they're coming into your presence or into your home. I remember, it's so funny, when Sukadeva Prabhu, you all know him from Philly, was living in Cleveland. I had invited the king of Puri to come to Atlanta for the Panihati Rath Yatra Festival. And he had agreed to come. And we had advertised the king of Puri is coming for Rath Yatra. And everybody was so excited. The people in the city, the government, and the newspapers, they were all talking about the king of Puri is coming to Atlanta. But unfortunately, he got sick, so he could not come. When he came on the plane, he got sick. But then he came to Cleveland, and he came to Sukadeva Prabhu's house in Cleveland, and I was there at the time. And Mother Krishna Nandini was there, bless her transcendental heart. She passed away recently, but she was there with her husband, Tariq. I have a photograph. So there's the king of Puri, Krishna Nandini, Tariq, myself, Sukadeva, at Sukadeva's house. And we were so respectful. It's the king of Puri. Wow, sweeps the road in front of Jagannath. Oh my God. And when he sat down to speak, we had him speak for a few minutes. All he talked about was Srila Prabhupada. That's it. He didn't talk about Jagannath. He actually said that he went to school in America and he had some American friends. And he was so unhappy that he could not bring his American friends into the Jagannath temple. So he was working on changing that rule that Westerners cannot come inside. He was a very nice man, but he glorified Srila Prabhupada so much. So my point is, we understood who he was, and we demonstrated the right courtesies, respect. Do we understand who is a great Acharya? Today is the day to recalibrate your thinking, refocus. So then you get inspired by these pastimes. When you read these pastimes and you think about these things and who these persons are, your whole consciousness changes. Just like, for instance, this time frame is really, really special, okay? Advaita Acharya's appearance, Nityananda's appearance, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur's appearance coming also, and then Gaur Purnima. And for me, it's very special, especially Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur's appearance during this time, because that's when Srila Prabhupada came to Atlanta in 1975. He did the arti for the Vyasa Puja for Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur on that day. It was beautiful. So it's like these days are building up to Gaur Purnima, when the Lord comes in this beautiful transcendental form, Gaudahari, golden form, coming to spread the Sankirtan movement, to relish the Sankirtan movement, and to relish the mood of Srimati Radharani. So we have to think about who these personalities are in order to be able to appreciate this day and how fortunate we are to be in the mindset of even beginning, approaching this discussion about Advaita Acharya. How fortunate. How many years did we not even know about Advaita Acharya? Even if you're from India, most people from India don't know about Advaita Acharya. No, barely they know about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, barely. in most places, except Bengal, they really know about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And in Vrindavan, of course, because of the 6 Goswamis and all that. But look at our fortune. In Kali Yuga, people are unfortunate. Manda Bhagya. Bhagya means great, like fortune. But Manda Bhagya, their fortune is practically zero. Practically zero. And as Prabhupada would jokingly say, in the old days, they would eat off of silver plate, beautiful plate. Now they eat off plastic plate. And they're so proud. We have got plastic plate or paper plate. It was so unfortunate. I just saw a headline, actually, I was just going on my phone this morning. I saw a headline saying the life expectancy in America has gone down. This is described. The life expectancy will go down, down, down. And the Prabhupada said one day, if you're 25, 30 years old, you'll be known as a grand old man. It'll become so bad. But look at our fortune. How fortunate we are. It's like that story about the touchstone and Sanatana Goswami and the most valuable thing. So this man came to Sanatana Goswami, asked him, and then he said, go to the trash, the touchstone is there, it's very nice. I heard you had some stone. Okay, you go and you take it. But that touchstone did not make that man happy. He was thinking, this man has something more valuable. Why would he put the most valuable thing in the garbage? That doesn't make sense. He must have something more valuable. So he went back to Sanatana Goswami, and Sanatana Goswami gave him the chanting of the holy names, the most valuable thing. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying this, nothing but the holy name to be had in all the 14 worlds, and has filled the soul of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Has it filled our souls yet? I cannot claim that it's filled my soul 100%. I feel some happiness sometimes chanting, but has it filled my soul to where that's all I really need? That's all I really want? I'm praying for that, that wonderful day to come. I pray, and please, all of you pray for me to get that day at some point, to have that opportunity to relish the holy name without any contamination, material thoughts, realizing the holy name is none different from Krishna, taking full shelter, hearing very attentively, feeling the joy of chanting the holy names. So understanding the dynamics of these things is like if you know something is dangerous, pick your poison, whatever it is, something that's dangerous, fire, guns, violent people, whatever it might be, then it elevates or it illuminates your thinking in regards to that thing. Okay. Suppose, like I said, suppose it's a bomb and you know it's going to explode and you understand the dynamics of a bomb and the damage and the harm that it can cause. It illuminates your thinking. You're more cautious, careful. It's like when you're driving, these cars are like just moving bombs practically. You've seen them explode sometimes in movies and things like that. So we're just so casually moving around. But then when we realize what this is, we become more conscious of it. So when we're driving, we're more careful, very careful. So when you have knowledge of something, it generates more attention. So as we get this information about Advaita Acharya, this day, this special day, will be elevated in your thinking. And you will take advantage of this day to do what? Of course, some of you have to go to work, no. But even if you're at work, don't make excuses. Okay, don't make excuses. You can think of Advaita Acharya today. We're talking about him a little bit here. Think of him. You don't have to tell everybody at your job because it may not be, suitable situation, but you can think. What did Krishna tell Arjuna? You need to go back and fight. There was like 640 million people there to fight. Now you go and fight. You help make this happen. Kill all these nonsense people. but think of me. How are you supposed to do that? How you fight with that many people and relatives and friends and teachers and think of Krishna? It's possible, Arjun. It is possible to do that. So it is possible for you to go through your day to day and think of Advaita Acharya. It is possible. Who controls your thinking? Before anyone makes an excuse, including me, who controls your thinking? When you're working, who controls your thinking? You can't, as they say, walk and chew gum at the same time. You should be able to walk and chew gum at the same time. So you should be able to work and think of Krishna at the same time. Otherwise, how you fulfill Krishna's requests? Satatam kirtayanto. Always chant my glories. Always think of me. Man mana bhava mad bhakto. Why would Krishna say it if it's not possible? It's possible. But if we get this knowledge, then we are inspired to think in certain ways. So Advaita Acharya, as the incarnation of Mahavishnu, why would we not think of such a great person? Advaita Acharya Goshaning Sakshat Ishwar Yanhara Mahima Nahe Jivera Gochar. Sri Advaita Acharya is indeed directly the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. His glory is beyond the conception of ordinary living beings. He's directly Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. So you see this beautiful picture, Panchatattva, from the Bhakti Garden. And Advaita Acharya is there to Lord Chaitanya's right, next to Nityananda. He's directly Supreme Personality of Godhead. So you have to let that, as they say, marinate in your thinking for a second. Think about that for a second. Supreme Personality of Godhead. Se Purushera Amsha Advaita Nahi Kichu Bedha Sarira Vishesha Tanra Nahika Vichedha. Sri Advaita Acharya is a plenary part of that Purusha, and so is not different from him. Indeed, Sri Advaita Acharya is not separate, but is another form of that Purusha. Advaita Rupe Kare Shakti Sancharana Ataiva Advaita Hayena Mukhya Karana. In the form of Advaita, he infuses the material ingredients with creative energy. Therefore, Advaita is the original cause of creation. So, the original cause of creation, here's another dynamic. All this creation, he's the original cause. The difficulty is he came 500 plus years ago. The difficulty is he walked amongst the people of that time. Okay, so people can see him, as I said from the beginning, as a historical personality. They can trace out his history. Even, as I said, Jayapataka Maharaj introduced us to a descendant of Advaita Acharya. So because he appeared in a human form, a singular form, it's hard to conceive of him being the cause of creation. It's very difficult. It's like understanding Krishna is similarly difficult. People cannot, it's very difficult for them to place Krishna, the one person, as the source of everything and as being conscious of everything, as a super soul in everyone's heart, aware of everything we're thinking, supplying intelligence to every living being, all living beings, insects, human beings, Brahma, Indra Gopa, all the way to Indra, and being that cowherd boy playing on the flute, enjoying with his cowherd friends, and never leaving his transcendental Dham. When Krishna comes to this world, you think he leaves that world? That world now is bereft of Krishna's presence. Golok Vrindavan, no Krishna. He has to go to India. He has to come down here, and everyone there is waiting for him to come back. Not like when he left Vrindavan 5,000 years ago. He left Vrindavan, went to Mathura, and practically never went back. So one might think, oh, in Goloka, there's no Krishna when he comes here. No. He has that amazing mystic power to be simultaneously everywhere. So therefore, people have a problem. It's not just the Mayavadis who have a problem, just in general, because what people have heard about God is insufficient. I know because I grew up in the Christian tradition, and what I learned there was nice, but it was insufficient. Therefore, as a young child, I was not satisfied. At 12 years old, I stopped going. I couldn't get the answers to my questions. I was probing in my heart. I wanted to know. So the knowledge of God is very insufficient, generally speaking. Again, this is another reason we should be so thankful for Srila Prabhupada. Om Agyanati Nirandasya Gyanan Gyanan Salakaya. He opened up our eyes to begin to appreciate not the word complexities of God, the unlimited glories of the Lord. Of course, they are complex, but they're transcendental and full of sweetness. When you read Chaitanya Charitamrita, you'll see the beautiful sweetness of the Lord being described so nicely by Krishnadas Kaviraj. So Advaita Acharya, he's the source of material creation. Another verse. This is really nice. Advaita Acharya Koti Brahmandera Karta Ara Eka Eka Murtye Brahmandera Bharta. Sri Advaita Acharya is the creator of millions and millions of universes. And by his expansions as Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, he maintains each and every universe. Wow. Millions and millions of universes? Advaita Acharya is the creator? How are you going to spend your day now? Okay. After hearing this, how are you going to spend your day? This day, the appearance day of the creator of millions and millions of universes. Now, on Janmashtami, we're a little bit more attuned. Krishna is coming. Well, Advaita Acharya is a direct expansion from the Lord, and he's the creator of millions and millions of universes. So our hearts should be filled with anticipation of this wonderful day. It's just the beginning of the day. It's only 8:30. We have a lot of hours left to relish the nectar of Advaita Acharya. Find some time. Don't make excuses. Who am I to say that? I'm such a fool. But don't make excuses today that you don't read about Advaita Acharya. If you don't have the physical book, go online. Go to Vedabase.org, I believe, and pull up Chaitanya Charitamrita. Take some time. How much time? That's up to you. 5 minutes, 1 hour, 2 hours, as much as you can. Read specifically about Advaita Acharya, especially in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. There's a whole chapter about the glories of Advaita Acharya, and there's many things interspersed there about Advaita Acharya. So do that. So now let's talk a little bit about his mood when he was here. This is very impactful and inspirational. If you embrace this, accept this, it will inspire something in your heart. That is my prayer. I'm praying that we'll all be inspired by the activities of Advaita Acharya and his humble, sincere prayers to the Lord and the effect of them. My hope in this small discussion in a few minutes is that we can elevate our thinking to understand the power and the importance of sincere, humble prayers and the need for that right now. This is not, can I be argued? The need for change is right now, and it's acute. It's a horrible sickness in the world today. The lying, the hatred, the distrust, every strata of society is messed up with all these horrible mental misconceptions of life. So let's hear what happened with Advaita Acharya. Prakati ja deke achar sakala samsar, Krishna bhakti gandhahina vishaya vyavahar. Advaita Acharya having appeared, he found the world devoid of devotional service to Shri Krishna. because people were engrossed in material affairs. Is that not the situation now? No one can argue. Yes, it is the situation now. Even for us, us humble devotees who are trying to serve, maybe not so humble, but we're trying to serve the best of our capacity. And we're forgetting Krishna as well. We try to remember Krishna. We try our best. I'm sure all of you try your best. I try my best. But still we forget, because this is Kali Yuga. Our mental capacities are less, physical capacities less, fortune less. But there's one great fortune in Kali Yuga, and that is the holy names of the Lord, chanting the holy names of the Lord. So that gives us that purification, so we can begin to break free of these material distractions. And as we gradually practice devotional service, we rise above the modes of nature. Mam jayo vyavicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunam samatitaita brahma bhuyaya kalpate. So we can rise above the effects of ignorance, passion, goodness, all these things by devotional service. But the people in general don't have devotional service. He found the world devoid of devotional service. This is 500 years ago, 500 plus years ago. Devoid of devotional service in those ancient times? Of course. And it's even more so now. Kali Yuga is progressing. The good news is this is the 10,000 year period of Lord Chaitanya's influence on this whole situation. And it's a very auspicious time, because why? Lord Chaitanya came to deliver the most fallen. We're definitely the most fallen. And the fallen nature is increasing every day. We see it everywhere. Not to reflect on politics, but that thing that happened on January 6th was painful. I saw it as it was happening. It was painful to see my fellow quote unquote Americans like that. It's very painful. And all I could think about is that these could be your friends, your co-workers. They could be family members. Did it inspire any of us to pray for them? I'm sure many of us became angry. For a moment, I was a little bit upset. But then I started thinking, this person could be a bhakta. The guy that had the horns and the little fuzzy hat, was like screaming all these nonsense things. He could be a devotee. Could we make that person a devotee? Well, it depends on our faith. If we follow in the footsteps of great devotees like who? Nityananda, Haridas Thakur, especially Nityananda. Nityananda was faced with these two horrible people. I guarantee you, Jagai Maharaj were a million times worse than the guy with the horns at the stake at the Capitol. Many millions of times worse. You should hear Jayapataka Maharaj's explanation from the Chaitanya Bhagavad about Jagai Maharaj. Oof, very difficult personalities. And Nityananda, this is what he thought. If we can make these two people Krishna conscious, then everyone will understand the glory, the majesty, the power of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy. If we can get those two. So as we are looking at this world, which is devoid of devotional service, what are we thinking? Sometimes we become introverted, institutionally. We go internally, insular within ourselves. We group together ourselves, which is not bad because we want to come together. Jaya Satsanga, we want to be together. But can we conceive of having an impact on the world situation? Can we even conceive of? Well, let's see. Let's see what Advaita Acharya thought. Keha pape, keha punye, kare vishay bhog, bhakti ganda nahi yate yaya bhavarog. Everyone was engaged in material enjoyment, whether sinfully or virtuously. No one was interested in the transcendental service of the Lord, which can give total relief from the repetition of birth and death. Loka gati deki achar karuna hridai vichar karena loker kaiche hita hai. Seeing the activities of the world, the Acharya felt compassion. He felt compassion and began to ponder how Excuse me. He felt compassion and began to ponder how he could act for the people's benefit. Okay, not hopeless. What can I do? Is there something I can do? Now, he's not thinking himself, I'm Mahavishnu. Millions of universes are coming from me. He's not thinking like that. He's taking a humble position. I'm the servant of Lord Chaitanya. I'm the servant of the servant of the servant. So how should the servant act? Not like the master. Purport. This sort of serious interest in the welfare of the public makes one a bona fide Acharya. Let that soak in for a second. This sort of serious interest in the welfare of the public makes one a bona fide Acharya. An Acharya does not exploit his followers. Since the Acharya is a confidential servant of the Lord, his heart is always full of compassion for humanity in its suffering. He knows that all suffering is due to the absence of devotional service to the Lord. And therefore, he always tries to find ways to change people's activities, always tries to find ways to change people's activities, making them favorable for the attainment of devotion. That is the qualification of an Acharya. Although Sri Advaita Prabhu himself was powerful enough to do the work. We just read it, okay? Mahavishnu, millions of universes coming from him. He could do it. Although he's powerful enough to do the work as a submissive servitor, he thought that without the personal appearance of the Lord, no one could improve the fallen condition of society. Foundational thought platform. Society, as Advaita Acharya, when he came, he saw it was devoid of devotional service, no interest in devotional service. Personalities like Jagai, Madai, I'm sure there were many other personalities, strange personalities. So he was submissive. What can I do? He thought that without the personal appearance of the Lord, no one could improve. Now, hopefully we're not thinking, I'm powerful enough. I can do it. I can change the world. With the help of the Lord, anything is possible. Without his mercy, nothing is possible. If we want to see the society change, we need to take advantage of this day and absorb ourselves in the mood of Advaita Acharya. Compassion, prayer, and that prayer is qualified by devotional service. So you want to offer some prayer, but you don't do service. Prayer won't have much effect. Have some effect, but not much. But if you have proven to Krishna that you are his man or woman, his servant, and then you pray to him the way Advaita Acharya is praying, then Krishna might listen to us. It's like any one of us on this conference right now could be experiencing some difficulty in our life. Any one of us, maybe all of us, are going through something. We need each other to pray for each other. Number one. Okay, we want to pray for all the people outside of us. That's true. But we can start by praying for each one of us. If I know that you're going through some difficulty, then the first thing I should do is pray for you. Because I can't do anything. I have no power. But my Lord has all the power. And if I qualify my prayers with consistent service, the Lord will listen to some degree. Am I strong enough to pray for the whole world? I don't know yet. I don't know. But I know, what is his name? The devotee who prayed for all the living beings to be liberated. What is that devotee's name? Who knows that devotee's name? Let them all go back to God and I'll stay here and suffer for you.
Vasudeva.
Vasudeva. It was Vasudeva, right?
Yeah.
He prayed for everyone. I don't know if I'm ready for that yet. Lord, let everyone go back to Godhead and Balabhadra will stay. I don't know if I'm ready. But I can pray for the people where I am. I can pray for you. I can pray for all of you. And I hope that you all pray for me. Because if you pray for me, there's a chance that I might make advancement in Krishna consciousness. But don't think In your mind, don't think negatively about devotees, and don't think negatively about people in general, because a devotee like Advaita Acharya, he's Mahavishnu, full of compassion for the fallen and conditioned souls, full of compassion, looking at their suffering condition. Anyway, he says, although Advaita Acharya could do it himself as a submissive servitor, he thought, without the personal appearance of the Lord, no one could improve. Apani Sri Krishna Jadi Karena Avatar, Apane Achari Bhakti Karena Prachar. Advaita Acharya thought, if Sri Krishna were to appear as an incarnation, he himself could preach devotion by his personal example. Nama Vinu Kali Kale Dama Nahi Ar Kali Kale Kaiche Habe Krishna Avatar. In this age of Kali, there's no religion other than the chanting of the holy name of the Lord. But how in this age will the Lord appear as an incarnation? Shuddha Bhave Kariba Krishnera Aradan Nirantara Sadhainye Kariba Nivedan. I shall worship Krishna in a purified state of mind. I shall constantly petition him in humbleness. That was his conclusion. And of course, he started to worship Tulsi, offering Ganges water, loud cries. It says his loud cries. Sometimes we're not so, maybe sometimes embarrassed about chanting, especially publicly sometimes, apart from kirtan. Kirtan is a different discussion. Sometimes we hold back, or we're hesitant to chant with other people or whatever. And sometimes it's justifiable at work, at school, blah, blah, blah. But here is an instance where Advaita Acharya is loud chanting. Lord, please help these people. And as I said from the beginning, all these great devotees, like the Lord Jesus Christ, praying to the Lord, please be merciful upon these people. He's on the cross, as is described, and his life air is everything leaving that body. And he's thinking of the suffering of the world. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Think of that. Father, forgive them. They don't know what they're doing. They're killing me. As Prabhupada said, they tried to kill him, but they could not kill him. But they're trying to kill him. And he's saying, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Fast forward to Haridas Thakur. What was it, 21 marketplaces, 22 marketplaces? He was beat, and he was not complaining. He was not condemning. And then when the guy said, listen, if you don't die, we're going to be in trouble. Okay, I'll die. If that'll save you, then I'll die. No problem. And then when Lord Chaitanya came in contact with Haridas Thakur, he showed him, I took all those beatings for you. I took them for you. Because you're so compassionate. You're so merciful. So Advaita Acharya is so merciful. I just want to finish with a couple of little slokas at the end, verses at the end, glorifying Advaita Acharya. Then we can have a brief discussion if you like. It's only a few, but they're very sweet. Yes. Advaita Acharya Goshanira Mahimna Apar Yanhara Hunkari Kaila Chaitanya Avatar. The glories of Sri Advaita Acharya are boundless for his sincere vibrations. Wow. The glories of Sri Advaita Acharya are boundless for his sincere vibrations brought about Lord Chaitanya's descent upon this earth. Sankirtana Pracharya Sabha Jagatarila Advaita Prasade Loka Prema Dhana Paila. He liberated the universe by preaching Sankirtan. Thus the people of the world received the treasure of love of Godhead through the mercy of Sri Advaita. Advaita Mahima Ananta Kai Pare Kahite Se Liki Jay Shuni Mahajan Avite. Who can describe the unlimited glories of Advaita Acharya? I write here as much as I have known from great authorities. Acharya Charane Mur Koti Namaskar Ite Kichu Aparada Nalabe Amar. I offer my obeisances 10 million times to the lotus feet of Sri Advaita Acharya. Please do not take offense at this. Tomara Mahima Koti Samudra Agada Tahada Lata Kahi E Bada Aparat. Your glories are as fathomless as millions of oceans and seas. Speaking of its measure is a great offense indeed. Jai 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 Shri Advaita Acharya, Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Ara. All glories to Shri Advaita Acharya. All glories to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and to the superior Lord Nityananda. Shri Advaita Acharya ki jai. As the lawyers would say, I rest my case. Advaita Acharya is unbelievably wonderful. Thank you all so much for allowing me to meditate and think about Advaita Acharya. You bless me by giving me this opportunity. I thank you from the bottom of my heart. I fall at your feet, asking for your mercy. Please bless me that today I will remember Advaita Acharya, and that remembrance will inspire me and all of you to take up this mood of prayer, sincere prayer for the suffering world. And in that mood, that we start thinking of ways that we can impact the suffering condition of this world in the mood of Advaita Acharya. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Jai. Thank you so much, Balabhadra Prabhu. Very enlivening class and emphasis on prayer, as well as the understanding of this great personality of Advaita Acharya. And do we have any reflections or questions from the devotees? Mother Sudevi, Hare Krishna.
Yes, Guru. Thank you very much.
Microphone is not working.
I have a question and comment. In the very, very beginning,
We can't hear you, Mother.
start speaking.
No, something's wrong with your microphone.
Okay, why don't we come back to you?
Okay.
You try to get it to work.
I see Humbly Yours. I'm not sure who Humbly Yours is, but it's a nice name. Who is that? Humbly Yours?
That is Renuka.
Oh, is that Renuka? Ah, Haribol.
Haribol. So is it my turn yet or should I wait?
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you for today's lecture and highlighting one of the five Panchatattva holy men. And I got to know a little bit more about Advaita Acharya by today's talk. And a couple of links were shared on the chat window. I will make sure that I just at least glance through them, like, even if it's like a cursory look.
Yes.
So my question is the character that makes this guy stands out is humility. Am I correct? Humility.
Yes. Yes.
So I'm having a very hard time understanding this humility factor, because everyone keeps telling me, like, you need to be humble and you can't be like this. So does humility mean like I put other people first and I give up my spot? Like, see how I cut the line. I always raise my hand first. I don't even wait for others. I don't even give a chance for others to raise the hand first, and I cut the line. And and I'm waiting for my chance, for my name to be called, so that I ask the question instead of waiting for others, and I should go last. So that does humility mean I put other people first and I give up my spot?
Let me give you a direct definition of humility given by Srila Prabhupada, and the one that I love so much. He says, humility means not being anxious for the satisfaction of being honored by others. I'll say it again. Not being anxious for the satisfaction of being honored by others. That is a very concise and clear definition of humility. So we shouldn't look for it. And here's a positive psychological impact in our lives if we follow this instruction. Sometimes we become unhappy when others don't respect us. Even we're doing some humble service or we're doing something for Krishna consciousness and no one's appreciating, blah, blah, blah. That causes anxiety in our lives. That causes us to waste time trying to figure out, why am I not being respected? Why am I not being appreciated? So Prabhupada is telling us, and Krishna gives that word in the verses of the Bhagavad Gita. Don't be anxious for it. So when it doesn't come, it doesn't affect you. Water off a duck's back. If you're not respected, and also in the 12th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, he's telling us to be one who is not disturbed by the ordinary course of activities. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, you can be stable in your consciousness. So that humility, in essence, is I'm not looking for any recognition. I'm looking for opportunities to appreciate others and to do devotional service. So I hope that helps. Anyone else?
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Balabhadra Prabhu. I just wanted to appreciate your focus on prayer. And specifically because I guess the first thing is you talked about earlier on as a Christian, and a similar experience with me, how when I would pray, but I was always told to pray for my problems to go away. It was a very kind of selfish type of prayer. In fact, we would pray before we went to bed every night. We'd say our prayers. And, one prayer was that I wake up the next day. Another prayer was you have a list of your problems and you want to take care of your problems. And the prayers the type of prayer that you're speaking about is obviously much different. And you guided us how to pray with regards to, in the mood of Advaita Acharya, to relieve the suffering of the world. And, how is it that we can take positive steps to help relieve the suffering in the world and bring people back to their consciousness of their eternal consciousness of Krishna consciousness. As within devotional life, oftentimes, so we say the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra is a prayer in and of itself, and the fulfillment of prayer is Krishna's present. So I've often I guess the encouragement of developing prayer isn't always, I guess, so prevalent, it seems. Sometimes, just say the prayers of the Goswamis, or the great Acharyas, which are all great. Chanting the Hare Krishna mantra is all great. The activities that, we should be constantly doing.
Yep.
About developing our own personal prayers. Can you say, I guess, maybe something about that? Should we focus on trying to develop our own personal prayer?
Better. I mean, there's aspects of personal prayer. And what Advaita Acharya is showing us, he's not asking for anything for himself. And we can look at what happened with Prahlad Maharaj. He was not asking anything for himself. You can look at Srila Prabhupada. He's not asking anything for himself. So these personalities, they always pray for the benefit of others. But in our circumstance, like the day I prayed, Lord, please allow me to say something that will inspire devotees and myself to follow more in the footsteps of Advaita Acharya. Okay, that's a prayer, that's my prayer. And I have another prayer that I say a lot, which is, just composed of my different feelings about the deities in Atlanta, different things like that. And I pray, and I say it pretty much, it's a private prayer to the Lord as I see him. And there's no harm in praying. I remember Hriday Nanda Maharaj was saying one time to some devotees in Atlanta, he said, the Lord is right there in your heart. You should pray to him, talk to him, speak with him. The other day in our Bhagavad Gita study group, I don't remember, it was in Atlanta or Sunday. I think it was our group with Vinjavali. Vinjavali, you were there for this discussion. And it was talking about meeting the super soul in your heart. You remember that? meeting the super soul. And we were like, what is this? What's going on here? Meeting the super soul in the heart? We were fascinated by that because he's right there. So why wouldn't you pray? But don't pray for material things. That is not recommended. So to your point, Acharya, we have to learn how to pray. And the Nectar Devotion says one should offer notable prayers, like standing in front of Panchatattva. Panchatattva makam krishnam bhakta rupa sarupakam bhakta avataram bhakta namami bhakta saktikam. Or I'm standing in front of Radha Madan Mohan and I'm praying to them. My brain just went dead. I couldn't think of the prayer right now. What is the prayer for Radha Madan Mohan? Madan Mohan? Who knows? Krishna's not giving it to me right now. Anyone know that prayer? Gita? I think you're there. What is the prayer?
No, I can't remember. Sorry.
Krishna took it away.
End up with Krishna Madana Mohana.
What is that? Say it, Sudevi.
It will end up with Krishna Madana Mohana.
I know it ends with that, but what's the beginning?
Oh, the beginning. Oh, the beginning.
I can't think of it right now. It'll come. Krishna will give it to us in a minute. But we can hear your voice now, Sudevi. That's so nice. Okay. So yes, Donna, we can pray, but we should learn how to pray. Don't pray for material things. But even if you pray for material things, better you pray to Krishna, right? Better you pray to Krishna than pray to the demigods. Okay, but it's not recommended. Akama sarva kamova, moksha kami udadidi. So even if you have material desires, you're asking Krishna for it, okay, fine. At least you're asking Krishna. But as you make advancement and you follow in the footsteps of personalities like Srila Prabhupada, great Acharyas, Prahlad Maharaj, all the great devotees, they don't pray for themselves. And of course, Advaita Acharya. And this praying for others' benefit will elevate you like anything. It's just so special.
Sure.
And Mother Gita, she put she chatted, put in the chat box, she was asking about that definition of humility. And that is from the 13th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. It starts with verses 8 through 12. And it says, just the first part of that verse alone, humility. So that's the first quality, the first principle. And then in the purport, Prabhupada points out about humility, and I quote it, not being anxious for the satisfaction. So here's exactly what Prabhupada says. Humility means that one should not be anxious to have the satisfaction of being honored by others. I'll read it again. Humility means that one should not be anxious to have the satisfaction of being honored by others. Bhagavad Gita chapter 13, text 8 through 12, and it's in the purport.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Is that my turn yet?
Haryasa Sudevi was first because we couldn't hear her before. Then we'll come back to my dear friend Haryasa. Sudevi?
Sorry, Prabhu. A couple of things. Jayatam Surato Pangor, Mama Manda Matsava Sapadam Bhojo Radha Madana Mohana.
Thank you. You made my day.
Okay, so Prabhu, a couple of things. When you just started to speak, very, very beginning, you said something that confused me a little bit, but then you cleared it later. You were saying, you remember someone who said we are not qualified to speak, and you are saying, oh, I'm not qualified. But then it became a little doubtful to me, because then later you cleared it. You said today is a day you qualify, you sing, you praise, you worship. Because I was saying, could you repeat that one thing and clarify it for me, please? Very, very beginning.
What I was referring to is, as I read from Advaita Acharya, Krishnadas Kaviraj,
yes,
was saying how he didn't feel qualified to do that. So in our humble, not me, I'm not humble, but in our position, to say we're not qualified, yes, but by the grace of Srila Prabhupada, we are allowed to do this. There's no qualification that I have to speak on Advaita Acharya. I have not seen him personally outside the form of his deity manifestation. I was not there during that time. So my caution to all of us when we're dealing with this philosophy is to realize we're not qualified. Even though we may have qualifications, we may have Bhakti Shastra, you may have so many accolades and all these different things, but we're not qualified. And that qualification comes through the process of devotional service. After many, many lifetimes, we come to that understanding, Vasudeva Savamiti. So in dealing with presenting Krishna consciousness, we should always see ourselves in a humble mood that I am not qualified to do this work. Prabhupada himself explained like that. You know, Krishna wrote these books. I didn't write these books. Krishna wrote these books. So many ways he would express. So again, my caution to all of us is as we're dealing with this philosophy, presenting this philosophy, giving classes and lectures on this philosophy, it's not ours. So why should we not be humble? Why should we not think that I have no qualifications to speak on this? And by Krishna's grace, I'm allowed to speak on this. So let me speak in the most respectful manner. That's basically what I was trying to explain. Maybe I didn't explain it clearly.
No, I did not understand it, but thank you. But yeah, and also like Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, every chapter he end so humbly. So I understood that. But then the confusion was that, so you're supposed to glorify, you're supposed to praise, but you cleared it later. That's all day. Yeah.
Thank you so much today. Haryasva Prabhu. You still there?
Yes, Prabhu. The Bhagavatam explanation of our qualification to preach lets us know that we're not qualified. And humility, and that alone will provoke humility when we see the lack of qualification to present the Bhagavatam. When it was the sages of Namisharan, their heart's not moved. We get to hear there's a qualification for the speaker and the hearer. But I'm going to go back to Advaita Acharya Prabhu and
please
Kundanam in prayer. And it was so nice the way y'all were speaking about prayer. And I get the part of following the footsteps and learning how to pray from them. But prayer also, at a certain point, personal prayer is definitely there. It's a manifestation of a yearning. If you have a relationship with someone, you speak to them, just like in Prabhupada's prayer. Today, that remembrance of you came to me in a very nice way. I had a great longing for you, so I called out to you. That's personal. That's personal. And so with Advaita Acharya Prabhu, I feel like the standard, because he taught us because he showed us how to call Lord Chaitanya, you know, and his mission was, you know, for what he could see, the situation that had manifest. But our situation is that a lot of times I have to pray, Krishna, please use me. Please purify me. Please engage me in your service. I have to put myself in there, because unless he uses me, how can I do the benevolent work of helping others? So from the heart, I think sometimes it's just a natural occurrence. Yes. The awareness of my disqualification, my lack of interest, my interest in other things other than him. So I have to beg him. And Advaita Acharya Prabhu, aside from that, he's an ecstatic personality. You know, he's a kirtan man. He's a dancer. So it's and so that's that Kevala Anandakanda, that simply joyful mood is there within him. So there's so many aspects of Advaita Acharya that I really can appreciate, but I find that most of them are internal. That it's about internal development.
Yes, very beautiful.
I was just thinking about that.
Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
Is that Manju from Philadelphia? I see Manju. Is that from Philadelphia, Manju?
Yep.
My dear Manju, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Please accept my humble obeisance.
My obeisance, it's for a long time. I haven't seen or heard you.
I hear you.
So I hope you're doing okay. Everything okay?
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much for your service to ISKCON Philadelphia. Haribol.
I barely do anything, Prabhuji.
We want to get our last question in here.
Yes, no problem.
Mother Shuman.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Haribol, Mataji.
Thank you very much for your class. It's always very, very enlightening, and
thank you.
it helps me to get rid of contamination around me whenever I listen to your class. Very
Thank
special. And in the end, you said that prayer, it was very nice. I liked it very much. Could you give me the name of the song and where I can find it?
Which one was that?
In the end, you ended the program with your nice prayer. It was about.
From Advaita Acharya?
Yes, you were glorifying.
Oh yeah, that's from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. The prayers about Advaita Acharya, right? That's what you were saying.
Yes.
Okay. Chapter 6. And let's see. Yeah. Chapter 6, text 113 to text 118. Chapter 6 of Adi Leela, text 113 to text 118. Those are the last prayers I read.
Okay, Adi Leela, 113 to 118, chapter 6.
Yeah, 113 to 118, chapter 6.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to read it today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming to today's class, and special thanks to His Grace Balabhadra Prabhu for leading us in this discussion and glorification of Advaita Acharya Prabhu. We have some nice references in the chat, the Chaitanya Charitamrita 6th chapter, if you want to copy it so you can read today. There's also another link about Advaita Acharya by Bhakta Bab, he put in there. Tonight, we have an evening program for Advaita Acharya Prabhu. We're going to have Artik to the Panchatattva. We're going to everybody at 6:30. We were planning on doing a kirtan, but I don't think because of the snow we'll all be able to assemble. But we'll have a nice kirtan playing in the background. Srila Prabhupada chanting the Gaur Arti. And then Vishnu Gada Prabhu will be speaking on Advaita Acharya this evening as well. So please tune in for that. Also today is another way that we can honor and offer our respects to Advaita Acharya is a half-day fast. So fast until noon today. So thank you again, Balabhadra Prabhu. So
thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Vindavali.
I will try to have humility.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, except on weekdays.
Hare
Krishna.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. Thank you.
I'm
going to show the the darshan of the Panchatattva. There's not so many cities that actually have Panchatattva deities, and Philadelphia is one of the few. That
Laguna Beach. Laguna Beach also.
Laguna Beach, Hawaii.
Yeah.
Mayapur, obviously. I don't know how many others do, but we're very fortunate to have Advaita Acharya Prabhu here in Philadelphia.
Mm. Igbo.
And Mother Sita made their garlands today.
They look very nice.
Yeah, they're so beautiful.
Very, very nice.
Beautiful.
Wow.
We need the booty power.
Yeah. I'm gonna come spend some time there now. Seriously, Donna. Just hope you heard me.
Yes.
I'm gonna come spend some time there. I asked Prabhupada says I can come live with him, so that time, so it's all set now.
You need a place to stay? You have plenty of space.
Yeah. Okay. We'll talk more.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Hare Krishna
Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare
Haribo.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Sita.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Very nice.